From the very first day, this is all that they've known this year, and it's almost like they come into a room, and if you teach a lesson, that they're like, okay, well, what's the project? What's the end result? Like, where's our entry event? What are we going to do next? Who's going to be our audience? So they get it now that this whole grade level is encompassing this project-based learning activities, and it's like they don't know anything different. In project-based learning, students go through an extended process of inquiry in response to a complex question, problem, or challenge. Rigorous projects are carefully planned, managed, and assessed to help students learn key academic content, practice 21st century skills, and create high-quality, authentic products and presentations. The real key to project-based learning is that the students are genuinely engaged in their work.
The engagement with this type of project was impressive. I mean, it's just impressive that we actually had them hooked on this project from the middle of November to the end of December.
Student engagement across the board was just wonderful. They were talking to each other in the hallway about the projects. They were talking to Miss Baker's class, her students about their projects and comparing them. They were working at home with their moms and dads and talking to them about the restaurant business and the project. So it was very exciting to see the talk that was going on.
A PBL project is focused on teaching students important knowledge and skills derived from standards and key concepts at the heart of the academic area.
The math content that we covered in our project, one of the large components of it was scale. The students had to draw their restaurant to scale.
And proportions leading up to scale. They did very well with that.
We also included area of irregular figures. They had to find the area of their restaurant, and the restaurant had to be an irregular figure.
Some great math skills, you know, simple things like just multiplying the occupant, you know, number of occupants by the square footage allowed by code will give you some idea of how many people you can fit into that space. Just like, or, you know, the math of how many toilet fixtures you need, you know, I mean, something kind of simple as that, you know, so, and percentages. Numbers.
The project should give students opportunities to build such 21st century skills as collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and the use of technology.
I thought it was interesting how they would get together in the teams and work through the process, where it's kind of a gathering of information, kind of sketching the ideas of the different floor plans, and then kind of putting it into the computer application, which is very much similar to the real world. And then also the next step of presenting it to professionals and their classmates and responding to questions. I think it kind of tackles many of the things that in the workplace we're looking for.
That's not very much unlike what we went through at Ball State as architecture students. We started off in first year doing some of the wildest things you would even imagine, not even buildings really. There's just all kinds of things, but they were teaching us to just think freely.
Collaboration is going to be, I think, the significant piece of success to this next generation.
We have another question.
We were trying to think of a way to have our kids use technology in this project, and we came upon Smart Draw.
We had a day in the lab that we let the kids use Smart Draw. They got to experience it. We didn't give them a whole lot of direction. They needed to find and uncover some of the attributes of this program.
And the kids have been begging us every day that they want to get back on Smart Draw.
The project starts with the driving question, which will focus the work of the project. The driving question should be engaging for the students, open-ended, and aligned with learning goals.
The driving question was something that they found very, very helpful. Always before, they would use a standard to work with their units. And I think the driving question helped wrap their minds around it and get it in wording that was meaningful.
How can we design a floor plan to scale? We're trying to design the blueprint, we're trying to design the restaurant for a company who is looking to build a restaurant in Columbia City in the near future. So this is what we're trying to accomplish.
Teachers launched the project with an entry event that engages interest and initiates questioning. An entry event can be almost anything.
For our entry event, we just had we knew we wanted to do something with restaurants. We talked about scale. I mean, that brainstorm kind of happened back at our original PBL training back in August. And so I was kind of talking about it with one of my teammates, and she had said that there was a show on Food Network called Restaurant Impossible. So Kathy and I checked it out and watched it on the internet, watched some clips, and we found a clip that we thought, we didn't want it to be too long, but just long enough to show the kids a glimpse. And so we showed them this clip.
I'm in Providence, Rhode Island to help a family and their restaurant that's in dire straits. My Nellie's restaurant is on the verge of closing, and the Picaro family is in danger of losing everything. Anybody would tell you if they came in here to change this restaurant, you would have to close for 2 or 3 months and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm going to tell you that in 2 days, with $10,000, we're going to fix the front of the house, we're going to fix the back of the house, okay? That would be good. We're going to bring this restaurant back, right? Right.
And then we also created a letter from a company called Restaurant International.
The students loved the letter.
Dear 8th grade Indian Springs students, hi, we need your help. We have bought a piece of land and are planning on opening a restaurant in Columbia City in the next couple of years. We are looking for an innovative design for our restaurant and thought who better to ask than a group of teenagers. We have given your teacher a list of specifications that need to be included in the design. From time to time, we'll be sending experts from the restaurant field into your classroom to check on your progress. We'll be waiting excitedly for your designs. Sincerely, Jane Smith, Restaurant International CEO. We made the CEO a female just to show them that females can do it. So they always ask me, Ms. Baker, have you called Jane? Called Jane Smith, the CEO? And so it's just been neat too to kind of uncover the information and the need to knows with them and from that perspective.
And Jane has checked in with us from time to time and given us new information when we've needed it. So it's just been a great start to our project.
The more voice and choice students have during a project, the more the project will feel meaningful to them. In this project, the students were allowed to divide the work, produce a timeline, and select the shape and style of the restaurant they were designing.
How many bathrooms?
After the entry event, the students generate a list of things they will need to know in order to successfully complete the task.
We need to brainstorm a list of what we need to know. What do you need to know?
What do you need to know? Andrew.
We need to know how big the space is.
Okay, space available to build.
In Real Inquiry, students follow a trail that begins with their own questions, leads to a search for resources and the discovery of answers, and often ultimately generating new questions, testing ideas, and drawing their own conclusions.
No, that would be part of the student area because they're going to be sitting all around there. Nope, that would be fine. Okay, that'd be fine.
So there's going to be like all the girls like out in this area and like the kitchen's behind them. Which like we'll have to coordinate it for like the meats and stuff to be.
In addition to peer feedback, the teachers arranged for experts in the field of engineering and architecture to be expert advisors during the project work time. Feedback from such experts is especially meaningful to the students because of the source.
Well, and that's, you've got to have a basic idea what the kitchen is going to look like, and then so you know where it's going to fit into the restaurant. That's going to be part of how the restaurant gets designed too. Whether it's you're going to have the basic square of the restaurant and then the kitchen set off to the side, or you're going to include the kitchen in that basic square. That's going to determine how much space you're going to need.
So I'm going to find the area of this shape.
10, 20.
What needs that?
This part right here is 20 feet.
Okay, that should be enough. 20 feet by 10 feet. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, that should be good. The height is 10 feet. This is 20 feet, and the top
I'm going to show you what I did.
Should be able to make that work. All right?
What I think Amy and I tried to do was, in our critique and our comments, was maybe to help them see how they could improve in the future, think about what it was that they were presenting to us, and maybe be able to express themselves better.
Presentation to an authentic audience is crucial in project-based learning to give students practice in 21st century skills such as oral communication, using presentation media, and critical thinking as they anticipate and answer questions from a particular audience.
Seating area for like the waiting people. So I put.
When we started to think about who we wanted for our authentic audience for our project, Restaurant Possible, we first started looking locally, trying to think who we could bring in locally, and then we also started thinking big.
This project has been something completely new for me. I've never done anything like this, and I have been so far out of my comfort zone. It's crazy. However, the results that I've seen so far have been wonderful. So I'm so excited about this project. It's been a great thing.
Before the project, we were kind of in the planning process, and I had made the comment that I wasn't sure that I could give up the amount of control that I normally have in my everyday class, and I'm glad that I did. It was really amazing to see what the kids can do with a little bit of their own creativity, and just kind of giving them, like, they had limits, but they were able to just be creative and use their own brains and work with each other. So that was really neat to see. So I'm glad I gave up that control.
It's teamwork, because at first we didn't get along too well. We didn't even like each other that much, and now after doing this project, I think we've got a lot closer as friends, and we got a lot done doing that.
Yeah, because basically if you get to know the people that you have to work with, you're more successful in your project, because if you're fighting with the people you have to work with, then you're never going to get anything done, and you'll never get anywhere in life as you're older if you fight with who you're working with in a project, like in your job.
And collaboration is about everything, because like when you have friends or not friends, you may not work well together, or you may, but if you may not, you have to come together as a team and get everything done as it should be.
Yeah, because basically I wouldn't have ever picked these two to design a restaurant with. I would have picked like my two best friends in this class, but Mrs. Baker put us together, and it showed me that there's friends and people that you wouldn't expect, because I would have never ever talked to these people before.
I think it taught us all a lesson, not just us, but the whole class, that it's like the real world in this project, because you have to work with people that you might not want to work with, but in the end, that you actually like them.
I was walking down the hall one day after school, and I ran into two of the math teachers in my section, excitedly talking to me about a new idea they had for project-based learning. They asked if I would be willing to provide some support with that in my reading class. So I started doing some research, looking for some books or articles that the students could read that would engage them, and I was able to find several books. One's called American Pie, Slices of Life from America's Backroads. I found a book called Waiter Rant, which is a memoir by a waiter telling some short stories about his experiences with customers over the years of his career. The other one is nonfiction as well, and it's called The Restaurant Dream, an inside look at restaurant development from concept to reality, and it includes how to establish a restaurant, how to come up with menus that are provocative for customers. So between all of these books, it gave my reading class an opportunity to have some discussion and to just get the creative juices flowing about the project-based learning project they were doing in math.
The math team, they finished their presentations, and within the next day we started writing with it from the menu aspect. We played a game of The Price is Right, so that we could look at what are reasonable prices for menus. We had the students turn around and do 4 interviews of people because it depends on where your demographics are. We're Columbia City. We're not Chicago. We're not New York, where they might be willing to pay $50 for a meal. Here, I think that $12 is probably more reasonable thing. So that was an interesting thing that I hadn't even considered teaching them, that project-based learning does. You roll with it because these things arise. Then we started actually creating the menus, and we have been using Publisher from Microsoft Office, and they have to create a section of a menu and go through and list descriptions. They have to play on words. We've talked about puns. We've talked about what really draws a customer into the creative aspects of a menu. And we've looked at descriptions. I've heard more about creamy red sauces and yummy cheeses and garden vegetables than I probably have in my entire life. But yay for the kids, because they're getting on Food Network, they're getting on allrecipes.com, they're searching through their mom's old recipe books, and they're excited about this project.